Hi, welcome back to the Professor Plum YouTube channel, and today we're sponsored by directplumbing.supplies.com. The link is in the description. So today we're going to be fitting an expansion vessel and an automatic bypass valve. Now don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more plumbing content. So the first thing that we need to do is isolate the boiler. We need to find down a drain down point, and we need to open that up and either get a hose on it, or like this one sent by the plumbing gods, whoever did this was an absolute legend, put the drain off outdoors. So sometimes you can find them outdoors. And we need to go upstairs, and we need to vent all of the radiators. So to vent the radiators, you either need a bleed key or a flat-headed screwdriver, depending on the bleed nipple. And that first radiator that I shown was leaking, so that is going to be completely isolated when we fill back up the heating system so that the customer can buy a replacement radiator. The second one here has a faulty TRV, so we're also going to be replacing that. So we need to just open up all of the bleeds throughout the house. So let's have a look at what we're doing today. So when the boiler got serviced, they noticed that the automatic bypass valve was leaking, so that needs to be replaced. So we're going to undo that and take that out completely. So what is an automatic bypass valve? Well, we need to maintain the pressure in the boiler. We need to make sure that the pump works at a continuous rate. And so if there's too much pressure, this will open up and allow it to flow through the boiler. So you can either use a compression nut spanner, which are quite useful in some of these situations, especially if they're a bit awkward. Or you can just use a pair of adjustable spanners to unwind those nuts. Now the way they work is they've just got a nut and olive. It's very basic, simple stuff. So we're just going to undo those by loosening them clockwise, anti-clockwise motion. Now we need to loosen this one up. Now the pipe work on here is 28mm pipe work, so it's quite tight. So what we're going to have to do is undo some clips. You can see there's a Munson ring clip just above where I'm working. We need to undo that so that we can actually take it off. So let's have a look at it.
See where this is. To line it up on the new one. Like this. You see? There we go.
So actually by spinning the head, all we need to do is match it up to the pre-existing one. If you're doing any sort of replacements, just try and set the settings to exactly the same. Now we're going to be using the exact same nut and olives. We're not going to be replacing those because it is the exact same brand. But we are going to have to clean it up. Now we're going to clean it up because it seems like the plumber before used either some LSX. Now there is a possibility, someone did say in the comments when I posted this video on TikTok, that it could be possibly some sort of system leak solver sort of thing. I think CT1 do it like a sealant. Not quite sure, but we're going to completely remove that, and we're going to be putting some paste over the top. Now the paste that I use is made by Mark Vito, and it's just used for compression fittings. I find that any movement, it stops any squeaking, and I don't know, it's a plumbing ritual. It works for me. You can also see slightly more clearly that Munson ring. You can see where we're taking that off just to the left of the pump there, and that's how we've been able to take this valve off and put it back on. So we just need to tighten this all up. Now you just got to be careful not to cross thread it. So there should be very little resistance. You should be able to wind most of it on hand tight using your thumb and your finger, and then you just need to nip it up using your adjustable spanners or your compression nut spanner. So we'll just finish off getting that tightened up, and then we're going to move on to the expansion vessel. Now the expansion vessel, we're going to have a little look at this because what we've done is on the service there was no pressure in the vessel, so we pumped it up, and then when we gone back to do the bypass valve, I've checked it and there has been a loss of pressure. So the expansion vessel internals, the diaphragm inside of it, there was a potential that it split, maybe got a slight tear in it, and that is what's releasing the pressure. So we're going to undo the nut on the bottom, and we're going to remove this completely. Now this particular type sits on a bracket. Some of them are strapped, and they will have a strap that will go around the circumference of the little balloon It looks like a balloon, doesn't it? Now, they're red as well because it's for non-potable water, so it's for heating systems. So if you ever see that there's a white one, then that is possibly because it's potable water, meaning that it's for drinking water. Now, you see those on your unvented cylinders, that sort of thing. But this is red because it's on the heating system. So there you go. There's the difference between the two colours. Now, with this one, you just have to lift it off. Now, there's two screws there. Now, they literally just lift up and off. They got some little eyelets that they sit in. So we just need to swap over the clips on these ones. Now, we've gone for the exact same brand, which is Zilmit. Now, you can get these from Direct Plumbing Supplies, today's sponsor. And if you haven't checked them out previously, you should definitely have a look and see some of their prices, as I think they're absolutely fantastic value for plumbers, and you can save yourself heaps of money. So to attach the bracket, you can see there is a rim around the center of the expansion vessel. Now there's two screws, and what they will do, those two lugs will bite into the top, and that will just grip it and hold it. There is a slight curve, like a slight L shape, and that is where the screws will sit in. So you just need to tighten those up and get those on there. Now, to actually make the connection back onto the pipework, we need to put a female copper to iron. So this will basically go over the thread, and then it's got a compression nut and olive on the bottom. Now I'm using some liquid PTFE because I don't ever reuse them myself, the copper to irons. So this will basically permanently attach it to the expansion vessel. So when you actually go to remove it or service it later on, you'll just undo the compression nut and olive, and then you'll just be able to lift it off in its entirety. So we're just making it one with the expansion vessel. If you did want to remove it, then you just use some heat. So you just heat them up, and then the liquid PTFE will undo, and then you can just unwind it. So we need to put it back on. You would put it back in the bracket, slip it on and over. And again, the same thing. We're just going to check this and see if there's any of that. Yeah, there it is. Some weird LSX silicone type adhesive on there. And we're just going to put some jet lube back over. Now, I almost forgot to check the expansion vessel. So we're going to check the expansion vessel because when it comes from the factory, it could be sat on a shelf for a long time. It could lose some pressure. So we're just going to check the pressure and make sure the pressure is set to manufacturer's instructions. So if you look through the instructions, it will tell you what the pre-charge setting should be. And we just want to check that that is exactly right. So now that's all been charged up according to manufacturer's instructions, we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop that on, get that in line. We just got to line up the two screws with the two holes in the back of that plate, the fixing bracket, and then that should just drop on nicely, and then we just got to do up that nut and olive underneath and attach that. That should be everything done then. So if you remember from earlier, that first radiator, we're just going to turn that off now. Some of the TRVs and lock shields that you come across now on these designer radiators, you need to use an Allen key to actually tighten them off. And then the other side, you can see that it's just mechanical and you use your hand to turn it down. So that's all off and that's all isolated. And then on the one in the second bedroom, we're going to be completely removing the TRV and all of the components so that we can put in a brand new one. Now, it is in an enclosed... So there we go, that last radiator was in an enclosed space. So ideally you can get some TRVs where basically it goes to the outside of any boxing in so that it can pick up the room temperature and actually work properly. Now, end of the video. That's all I've got. It's an old video that's been out there for like 2 years now. Can't see anything else footage-wise that I've got, but obviously you need to fill up your system and vent it all and add some inhibitor as well. And there you go, job done.